Okay, now comes that scary time. Sue, do
My
you
God,
have a question for me?
indeed.
Oh, you see, yeah, that's why I'm feeling a little nervous today.
The tables turn now. Okay, so when a patient comes into the room and you don't know anything about them yet, but as soon
Yep,
as they come in, we're analysing them. We're looking at how they move, their facial expression. Lots of information is coming in.
yeah.
And then we get their story and we go through the 1, 2, 3 and we get a better idea. And so the pattern evolves. Having had the 4 days doing the Parkinson's pilot study with you and seeing you working with patients, real patients, you look at a patient in a different way, a different level. So you're looking at them, you're analysing them. I can see your eyes are just scanning in a way that perhaps I haven't seen other people do. And you haven't examined them, you haven't touched them, but you just know straight where to go to get the best effect immediately. So is this something we can all aspire to? Is this your intuition?
Ooh.
Which is what I'm thinking it probably is. How do you know just where to go?
Um, I would think that sure, it's a tough answer, but the best what comes for me would be first of all, at that point we know that all the bases had been covered already because all of the people participants in the study were having full activations every day, twice a day, depending what they needed. So I wasn't going to go and repeat what had already been done. So my mindset was different. I was looking for where the gaps were. When something was missing, what got missed? But I think the other thing is that people have no idea how much information is out there. There is so much information. Just by the time someone's walked into the room, you could potentially, not everyone, have 60% of the entire story already. And
Yeah.
and probably the biggest part, intuition. If I'm trying to prove something, if I'm in a space where I don't feel comfortable, you wouldn't be able to see any of that because I wouldn't be able to do any of it. So if the space is allowing of it, and you and me, we created that space for the Parkineers, but that space was there. So I felt comfortable enough to express what was there. And so as our autonomic system drops and drops and drops, our awareness opens and we start to see and notice things that we didn't before. And so I think that the answer to seeing more, tapping into more creativity or intuition is as we drop down the staircase in our own autonomic nervous system. It's just like, it's almost just so obvious. It's just there. But if you work with intent, if you go, I've got to get to there. Well, now you narrow your focus because you have a very clear out. I've got to get to here. But what happens if you don't? What happens if that's not the direction we need to go at all? And if you can let go and be open to that, almost more gets revealed to you. And you can imagine that if we're in that space where we can let go, and right now with all of the masks and all of that stuff, that idea of opening and dropping down the staircase and really letting the autonomic system switch off, or not switch off but drop down, almost seems impossible. It's not, but it certainly is more challenging. But it's like, if you imagine like a kid just letting go of a need for an outcome, staying curious. Hey, what's that? Because actually, when I'm going, oh, hey, Neil, what's that? I'm not going there knowing what it's going to do. I'm going there because something in me says, what's that? And as a kid, I'm going to go and ask the question, what's that? And when his body does something that amazes us, and I could be talking, we had two Neils, by the way, and let's say we talk Neil who couldn't stop moving, and suddenly Neil stops moving completely, not dead, but stops moving completely. Afterwards we can go, holy crap, what was that? Not, I know what it is, let me go in. No, this is what felt like the right thing to do at the time. When I went in there, it did something. Let's say I went and I held a point, which is what I did, and it did nothing. Then I go, oh, Okay, what else could we do? So it's the not putting down the expectation of an outcome, because when you can do that, you may get an outcome that you haven't even considered yet. That's so far out of the realm. And you know the like the exciting part where you've done something with a client. Let's say it's your doctor with a tennis elbow, and you know he's come in and he's pretty stiff and rigid with thinking and mindset, and leaving going, what the hell, like a kid laughing, giggling. When he comes back, what human being walks into that? He might be going, oh my goodness, you're not going to believe what else. I don't know what's happened in the last week. It's been crazy because this has changed and that has changed. And none of it's got anything apparently to do with the elbow, but it's got everything to do with the elbow. The elbow represented a rigidity, a stuckness, and like a struggle. And then suddenly the struggle is not there and you're not overwhelmed, which means you're more present, more aware. And suddenly you realize what an awesome world you have. And it's like, we didn't create the awesome world. What we did is we help you get the stuff that was in the way of you being able to notice it out of the way. And life gets a little bit more pleasant and a little bit more wonderful. And, you know, and I think that's probably the greatest thing in there is not needing an outcome, you know, and I think that was what was so awesome about doing that study was we were going in there going, this seems to have something. We don't know what it can do. And even if we got together and people felt a little bit better, we would have been really happy because that was all our goal. And some really beautiful, crazy things happened. And we get to go, wow, that's cool. Had we aimed, okay, we want them, we have our baseline testing. Our goal is everyone is 20% better. Wow, we would have limited ourselves. But 20% before would have been wow, that's a big stretch. Why, that'd be silly. Why would you do that? But had we done that, we would have started in a limited mindset. And a limited mindset is, imagine instead of being out here, it's this. We're aiming for this. Anything that deviates from this. But what happens if the answer's just out there? So, you know, and the other side is that, as you were saying, that the more you do something, the more you trust it and the more comfortable you feel. I feel like I've been doing this my whole life, and it's weird. I almost can't remember a time when I wasn't doing this work, but it happened. You know, it's more than half my life. But then you learn to trust it, and it doesn't mean I always get it right. You know, we were doing a webinar this morning with a group of Australians therapists. And I was reminded of a session I did where I did some work with Kelly Slater, 11 times world surfing champion, most amazing athlete in the world, blah, 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 blah. Did 2 hours. I should have changed his life. The problem was Doug at 16 years old wrote a report on Kelly. I got great marks because he was my hero. So I wasn't Doug-like. I was just I'm working with Kelly. My ego was driving it. I needed an outcome. I blew it. It was beautiful. I added no value, a little value, maybe let's call it a 10, 15% value. But for what we were doing, it should have been totally different. And only afterwards, when I sat back and reflected and went, oh geez, the 3 most important things I needed to do were the 3 things I decided to not do. And so and you go, all right, so you went in with an intent. You went in with next. And awesome. You know, if I didn't do that, I couldn't tell the story. Yeah, I would have probably been flown to Tahiti to go surf there had I got it right, which I probably was already thinking because that's where the next event was. But it got in the way of any intuition or anything. And I've, Matt was there filming the whole thing. And yeah, I only look at it just to remind myself how stupid I can be. And it's allowed.
So sometimes the people you want to help the most, you're trying so hard that you miss it. And you get so frustrated and you think, just stop trying so hard and just let it flow. And then the outcome will be better.
I think that is so spot on. And, you know, when I work with athletes, once we get them to a certain position where now they know enough about themselves that they can actually look at what their opponents are doing. You actually, you want your opponent to feel pressure, because pressure, they will undermine their own performance. You don't have to do anything. You just create pressure. And so sometimes pressure is, how many golfers will know this? Give your opponent, like the guy you're playing against, he's probably your friend. Give him a compliment. Sue, your swing today is incredible. I've never seen you hit the ball so cleanly. What are you doing differently? Now your mind is going to hack your whole system. All the parts that were flowing beautifully together will not have any freaking clue what to do. You're going to shank it. You're going to, and then you smile, go, oh, wow, what happened? But I have to be on top of my game to be able to do that. That is one of my favorite parts of life too, is kind of, I hate it when I get hacked. But hacking is fun too, because it still has to be fun. But it's like, can we let go of an intent for an outcome so we can actually experience what's happening right here and right now? Cool question, but you did make me, well, you didn't make me. I kind of went all over the place. So, first time ever. There are no straight lines. Thank you, Sue.
Excellent, Doug. Thank you very much.